Is Professor Ntai on? Professor Ntai?
I think it's not on yet.
Okay. Okay. I think when it comes along the way. Okay, but we can proceed. I want to thank all our seniors who have joined this session. We appreciate your time to be part of this and to listen to the students' engagement, and also, of course, as usual, giving that very valuable support to the student communities. We really thank you. We want to thank you, Dr. Brenda Kampunda. We want to thank you, Dr. Dennis Musinguzi, and others that I might have not easily seen, but we recognize your availability. Dr. John Okodoi, we thank you for being part of this. Today, we are privileged to have a session by our guest professor, Professor Richard Boteng from the University of Ghana. Professor Boteng is the Professor of Information Systems in the University of Ghana. Is a technology researcher with a focus on developing, communicating, protecting, and promoting ideas in sustainable projects. He was the head of Department of Operations, Management Information Systems at Business School of University of Ghana. He is also an associate editor of Information Technology and International Development Journal, and serves in their editorial board. Professor Richard holds a doctorate in development informatics and master's degree in management and information systems from University of Manchester, UK. He is a holder of the Chevening Award Scholar and Dorothy Hawking Postgraduate Award, and he has served, he did his postdoctoral doc at International Center for IT and Development, Southern University in the USA. Professor Boteng's research experience covers digital economy, cloud computing, e-learning, information and communication technology for development, electronic governance, social media, electronic business, gender technology, mobile commerce, mobile health at national, industry, and organizational level. Since 2006, he has published over 47 journal articles, 9 books, 7 book chapters, 38 published conference paper proceedings, and 1 international technical report, and 2 journal editorials. Some of his recent projects, some of his recent research projects include a new book project on leveraging AI for entrepreneurship, some of which he's going to touch in today's presentation. And also he has a new book, The Best You Can Ever Be, Empowering Women in Digital Economy. And he also has a book, latest book, Research Made Easy, available at University of Ghana Bookshop, but also I've seen it on the Google, I think on Google Books. And all his details are available. He also participated in different international projects, including GIZ, Vodafone, Danida, International Development Research Center, World Bank, UN, Ghana, and among others. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to take the awesome privilege of welcoming Professor Richard Boateng to lead us in the next session. You're most welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much. I didn't know you're going to read all of this. Thank you very much. And some of the information there are new ones and there are old ones, and I'm happy about how giving me my past and my present. I'm 2010. And since then we have been great friends, and we have been trying to do something to promote the teaching and research of information technology in Africa. So I bring you greetings from University of Ghana, and from my research team and from my family. We are very grateful to be invited. I told my students, some of them are here with me. I didn't know this was going on in Africa, but this is a brilliant platform, and I'm hoping that we West Africans can join going forward to see how best we can be able to nurture PhD students across. So it's a wonderful initiative, and on convenience, I clap for you. You've done a great thing. It's phenomenal. I didn't know that such a thing is going on. I lead a PhD committee in my department, and we try as much as possible to have occasional activities like this. But you are doing it every week, and it's phenomenal. Okay, so without much ado, I'm supposed to talk to you about critical realism in relation to the research I've just done. I hope I'm right. That's what I'm supposed to talk about. But I also chanced upon some of the discussions that you were having earlier, and I'm hoping to contribute to those discussions either now or maybe in future. But it's brilliant to listen to you and learn from you too. And I understand the dilemma of trying to couch research questions and research problems. And then there was also a question about plagiarism and how to avoid self-plagiarism, which are issues that happen to all of us as we journey the PhD program and we start trying to externalize our knowledge. Okay, so my study here is has three key sections: critical realism, an overview, and AI and job creation and key takeaways. Um, I hope this has been recorded. I think so, and we'll have opportunity to get a recording. Charles, is that it?
Yes, Prof. It's recorded.
Okay, then. Thank you very much. So I'm not sure whether any what has happened previously. So can I just take a quick survey from the class and from the group here? Do you all understand, apart from the doctors who have already finished their PhD, do you all understand critical realism already? Or have you heard of critical realism before? Have you read about it? Please, you can show by hand. I want to have an idea of the knowledge in the room concerning critical realism. I can't, okay. One hand. Hey, then I'm in trouble. Only one person. Okay. What about paradigms in general? Paradigms, research paradigms in general, not critical realism, but research paradigms. Okay, I see one, two, three. Okay, research paradigms. Okay, two people. Let's see what's okay. Oh, if I knew that, then I have a video on research paradigms where I take my time to explain it. So maybe later I'll share it with the group here. It can be a very helpful video so that it could actually help you to navigate the different domains of paradigms. But I'll give a little overview, and that will lead me to my discussion.
Excuse me, Professor.
Yes, please.
Yeah, although people have not given put up their hands, probably they may not have understood your question. But for the last 3 weeks, we have been going through philosophical paradigms intensively. And I'm very sure 80% of the people here have had access. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. That is heartwarming. So I know there's a basis, there's a very good foundation already. Then thank you very much. But why are they not showing up their hand? Okay, no. Okay, thank you very much. And so then let me get into it. Okay, so paradigms are, just as an overview, are a set of beliefs and techniques which usually a scientific community tends to uphold or subscribe to in order to be able to serve as a guide or map on the kind of problems that community want to address and the kind of explanation that is acceptable to them. So the paradigm is that kind of space of thinking, or that gives them room of what's acceptable questions that they may want to research on, and how an acceptable answer will look like. Now, there are quite a number of dominant paradigms, and there are quite a number of paradigms, and most often in my area of research as information systems, we come across positivist paradigm, interpretive or constructivist paradigm, and then a set of different paradigms that sometimes people bunch them and call them the critical paradigm. But there are differences in them. There's the realism, there's the critical realism, and there is other types of paradigms in that last bracket. Now, as I mentioned, the paradigms are the beliefs and values and techniques which guide our research. But the paradigm is also seen as a worldview, and there are a number of paradigms. These paradigms keep on evolving. So now, if you read Creswell's books, some of his current books even tend to talk about pragmatic, pragmatism as a paradigm, and then there are other paradigms that are from the interpretive communities that you may have heard of, things like feminism. All these are different views. Queer. All these are different views that are shaping the way people do research. Now, to understand the difference between paradigm, we need to have a set of criteria so that we can use it to kind of become a schema for categorizing them and looking at the differences between them. We usually call those ones philosophical assumptions. And there are different taxonomies for this philosophical assumptions. You may have heard of ontology, epistemology, and methodology, which comes from the work of Gruber and Lincoln and then Creswell. And then there's also in some recent additions, axiology and rhetorical, which is also part of the dimension that Creswell talks about. Now, the taxonomies are philosophical assumptions for research, and they are used as a structure to explain paradigms. So it's like me trying to explain models of cars, and I need to have a structure to be able to compare them. So I can compare the interior, I can compare the exterior, I can compare the horsepower of the engine. All of these things are what I'm calling as taxonomies, so that I can use to compare paradigms. Now, the common ones that we usually use are the ontological perspective, the epistemological perspective, and the methodological perspective. Each of them poses a question for us to look at in terms of understanding a paradigm. The ontology tries to ask a question that what is the form or nature of reality within that paradigm? What is there that can be known about it? And how do we accept what reality is in the space or the paradigm we are looking into? Number two, epistemological question, that what's the nature of relationship between the knower and the would-be knower, and what can be known? So it's more about the knowledge dimension. How is knowledge perceived within the paradigm? And then maybe the last one, methodological question. How would the would-be knower go about finding out whatever needs to be known? How would he inquire? What would be the inquiry journey? What is acceptable within that inquiry process? And what methods or approaches can be embraced in that inquiry process? So I will not talk about interpretive, neither will I talk about positivism. But in the area of critical realism, we have one word, critical, and then realism. So there's realism and then there's critical realism. But they tend to belong to a similar family, just that there are some few differences. Now, when we talk about the ontology, realists tend to believe that there are multiple perceptions about a single mind-independent reality. So the reality that you exist in, there's a mind-independent reality, which is single. And that single one that it believes that is there, there are multiple perceptions that humans have about it. So what the realists tend to view the world, they say that the objective reality that the positivists believe in is usually distorted by human subjectivity. So when you are doing a research, you have to be value cognizant or conscious of the values of human systems and of research and how it interfaces with what your understanding of the reality you are observing. Now, it also points out that realism recognizes that perceptions have certain plasticity, meaning that there are differences between the reality and the people's perceptions of reality. So the fact that you have a perception of a reality does not mean that the reality itself does not exist. And that reality that exists is plastic in nature, so it can actually be changing. Now, the critical realist has a different mind. The critical realist thinks that there are two different worlds. In one world is a transitive world, in another world is the intransitive world. The transitive world is what we are, is what we observe, what we learn with our mind. The intransitive world is independent of what you are observing or what your mind thinks it has seen. So the transitive has the perceptions of reality. So in their view, what we are observing is where the perceptions of reality exist. But that perception of reality seems to be value-laden and changing continually. So if we want to understand it, we need to move away from the transitive world and go into the intransitive, where the mechanisms and structures are relatively enduring, and that is what we want to study. So if I see, I come to, let's say I come to Kampala and I actually pick a taxi, and I see that the taxi driver has removed the headrest and behind which the driver is supposed to sit on and use a neck to rest upon. What I'm observing is that the headrest has been removed, but there could be several reasons why it could be that he has removed it. One of the things it could be is that maybe the car was shipped to the country and it was as is. Or number two, he may think that the headrest is an obstruction for him. He doesn't feel comfortable, so he's moving it from there. And that view can be said that maybe crime has been taking place, and when people want to hijack your car, they tie your neck to the headrest. So because he has been driving through crime-prone communities, he wants to save his life. He doesn't want someone to sit in a taxi and try to tie his neck to the headrest. So he has removed the headrest. Now, all of these are different meanings, but which of the meanings tends to be relatively enduring to within the settings that we find that particular driver? Good. So, and that is what we want to study. So in critical realism, we appreciate that in the world that we are in, there is observable and non-observable structures and mechanisms, which are independent on the events that they generate. The goal of the critical realist is to try to understand the layers of truth that underpin a reality that somebody's observing in the real world, and try to abstract that layers of truth to find out what mechanism is behind it, what structure is behind it, and causing what we are seeing to be what we see. In order to do that, the realists, in their approach of seeing the world to be the reality to be kind of plastic and it can be changing, and the critical realists thinking that there are two different worlds, they take a number of approaches. Both of them embrace both quantitative and qualitative research approaches. So they may use both quantitative and qualitative. But one of the things that you end up realizing is that the realists accept that, okay, if I believe they have been told about positivism, but they accept positivism, but they go beyond, scrutinize the current views and remove invalid explanations. So quite a number of realists like to use what we call hypothetical or hypothetic deductions, where variables are used to describe a phenomenon and they find association between the variables. And the confirmed association is more often the valid explanation at that time. So realism is more about cause and effect. But critical realists think that, okay, for us to understand the world, we need to try to understand what are the structures and the mechanisms and underpinning what we are observing. But that one may not be enough. We may need to try to unlayer it or abstract it. So they can begin with a theory. They can begin without a theory. They can go into with hypotheses or just questions. And they try to do what you call retroduction, a process of abstraction, digging behind the layers of truth. So when they see one view coming out, they try to understand why is this happening, this, why is the person saying this, under what circumstances is he saying that. And they try to look at or examine or explore how all these truths that we are seeing come together. So they break it down. Sometimes some critical analysts try to draw on what we call the outcomes, which are the actual events, and the mechanism that underpin and the structure that underpin the outcomes, and the triggers of that particular outcome. So whenever you choose a research approach and a research study you're going to carry out as a critical analyst, you are going to go through series of abstraction to uncover the truth. You don't accept everything that you see or hear at first. You have to use different methodological approaches to be able to understand what is really happening here, what is causing what you are seeing. And sometimes it can be a very immersive process, because your mind has to be able to understand the cause and effect and what are the liabilities in what you are seeing. Why is this thing happening this way? What caused it to happen? And what are the entities involved? What are the structures between the entities? Several questions can be asked in order to establish what you may call the reality. Okay. So I'll be trying to do explain my research as I go on. So the purpose of realism is to understand the social phenomenon through hypotheses, which are tested to establish parties of association. And then the most possible explanation is selected. However, the critical realist seeks not to predict, but to explain social phenomena. But this is done through the context, mechanism, and outcome. So what is the context? What are the mechanisms? And what are the outcomes? To develop a better understanding of what are the relatively enduring structures and the mechanisms of social reality. Now, when you start as a researcher, and it's very interesting at the PhD level, that which paradigm do you want to use? There are 4 key things that could influence the choice of a paradigm. 1, your own philosophical beliefs of the world. 2, the research topic of interest. 3, the level of existing knowledge pertaining to the topic. And 4, the range of skills that you may have in terms of methodology. Some people don't like quantitative, so they are drawn to qualitative type of studies, and they draw on paradigms that embrace qualitative research. So first, a researcher's philosophical beliefs about the reality of the world and how the knowledge is constructed can influence the choice of a paradigm. Some people think the world is very, very objective, so they may go for a positivist paradigm. Others also think the world is subjective. They may go for an interpretive paradigm. Others also think that the world is subjective, but that subjectivity, there is a question mark on it. They may go for a realist or a critical realist approach. Then the different approaches of research can help us to understand different phenomena. Now, sometimes the challenge we have is that some research areas are more mature than the other. What do I mean by that? The research area you have selected could be like, let's say, I've chosen artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence in the last 5 years has been growing in an exponential way. The type of things that is happening is very difficult for you to catch up on. And for many of the African countries, most of the things we are now trying to play catch up and have an understanding about it. In such an environment, if I'm in such a way, scenario, if I'm doing research, I may be looking for more exploratory research approaches, try to understand or try to explore what is happening in this area, especially depending on the phenomenon I'm combining with AI. For example, I want to look at AI in job creation. And I'm trying to look at the fact that is AI creating jobs for Africans? If it is, what are the factors that are underpinning that? If it is not, why is it not, as compared to other parts of the world? So I'm become more in a more exploratory fashion. Now, usually when you are doing your research and the area of the area has not gained maturity, you may want to start from a more qualitative interpretive approach and then move to a quantitative approach, approach when the area matures. Sometimes too, you may want to explore, so you may want to try to have a sense of in terms of descriptive statistics, what is happening in that area, and also combine some qualitative perspectives to be able to explore what is happening, why is it happening among some of the few respondents. So you want to quantify to what extent is this phenomenon having an effect in Africa? and then you want to talk to the people who are engaged in it, that why are you even involved in AI? So you may end up drawing from both a qualitative and quantitative perspective. Your quantitative means you are doing descriptive statistics to have an understanding to what extent is it a phenomenon in Africa, and then you are doing a qualitative one to be able to understand those who are involved. Why are they even involved in it? But in all of these, even though I mentioned that whether the area is mature or is not mature, it also boils down to the researcher himself, and sometimes the supervisor of the researcher. I don't know, maybe some of you have recognized it. They say first day you showed up to your supervisor told that we'll be doing quantitative. Means that your supervisor is wired as a quantitative person. So even if you came with a qualitative thinking in mind or expertise in mind, your supervisor is telling you quantitative. So you need to go and learn some quantitative methods to be able to be supervised by that particular person. Sometimes to you, the researcher, you like numbers. You have an accounting background or you have a statistics background. So you are drawn to quantitative as by nature. So it's very easy for you to go in there. Others also are drawn to qualitative, they like writing. They like trying to get draw themes out of what people are saying. So they are drawn to qualitative. So the limitation of the researcher or the skill set of the researcher also plays a key role in choosing a paradigm. I come from a critical realism paradigm because of the way I see research. Okay. So when the critical realism put his hat on and step into the scientific endeavor to carry out research, he believes that the scientific reality does not lie in the face of the world, but in the hidden essence of things. That if we reign in the superficial world of the empirical or generalize from what is really observable, we miss the opportunity to get underlying mechanisms that may be responsible for the observed regularities. So if I want to study X, there's a possibility that there is an A or B in which the B is higher than the A. But even before B and A can interact, A needs D, C, and E. But they need more. A needs more of D and a little bit of C and E to be A needs a little more of D and a little bit of C to create A. But B just needs a little E, and this is an instance of E. For A and B to occur, then X will occur. So you, the researcher, as a critical or the critical realist, you are trying to uncover the A and B and then go back and go further and uncover the C and D and E. So the critical realist doesn't just end up in what he observes as A and B. He goes beyond the A and B to see whether there is a C and there's a D, and even which of them has more weight in trying to let A occur. And then maybe there's also an E, which a little bit of it is needed for even B to be an occurrence. If the critical realist has time, he can even still dig deeper and dig deeper, dig deeper. And somebody will say that doesn't mean that he will never stop. Oh, there's a point in which you reach saturation. And when you reach saturation, you realize that you are not finding anything new. There's no more F or G or H, but the C, D, and E are sufficient to explain A and B. And then there you can get your X. Okay. So now let's come to AI and job creation. With this type of hat on, I wanted to I delve into the research of AI and job creation in Africa. But before I go ahead, I don't know the rules here. If I can help Doc and then Dr. John and Charles, do I open up for a few questions then go ahead, or I should just go ahead? Hey, I'm married. Bosco, you are here. It's
Yes.
been a long time.
Yes, Prof. You can make it interactive as you want. Usually, what we've been doing is that we'll finish the presentation, then give at least time for Q&A
Okay.
towards the end. But you can do it the way that if we deem best.
Okay, please. I can take one question now, if possible. So because I'm moving to a different area where I'm applying what I've been saying. I've seen some familiar name. Charles was cool. Emeritus. I think I remember him. Anyway,
Okay, so members, we can ask any questions.
if there's no question, I'll proceed. Okay, I don't see any hand. Okay, so I recently put together a book with my co-editor. Some of them are here, Dr. Shina and then Joseph and Thomas Obed, and then John Marfo. And there are others who are also here, Jeff, who also contributed to the book. Now, what we did was that we wanted to look into AI and job creation in Africa by looking at one particular platform called Fiverr. And our objective was to try to understand the world of freelancing and whether it's creating jobs for Africans and how does it compare to the world. Now, freelancing in terms of its conceptualization is a self-employment where the individual offers services to clients, companies, either on a contract basis or project by project basis, but not necessarily as a permanent employee, more as an independent contractor who is just providing the services, and it has flexibility of where you can work from, or if you have to work in it can even work online, and then it has a flexible schedule, so you can choose to take 2 or 3 jobs together. But recently, sometimes some people come together, some freelancers can come together and form an agency and still offer their services. So you can either hire them as an agency or hire them as an individual. More about freelancing is that it actually promotes autonomy, where freelancers can choose their clients, negotiate on rates, and even the workload and the work environment, what they want to do. And then the variety, they may work on with multiple clients across different industries. So you can have a freelancer who is an artist, like he's doing artwork for people, and that same freelancer is a developer, developing software, and that same freelancer is writing stories or writing and editing somebody's work. So on a platform, he can even present himself like 3 times, often 3 gigs or 3 services that he may be doing. One freelancer offering about 3 services. So when you go to his portfolio, you can hire him as an editor. You can also hire him as a developer. You can also hire him as an artist. Now, the income is usually either sometimes per hour or per project or per some deliverables, depending on negotiations you have. And when you use technology to enable freelancers to find and match jobs, usually the platform may also take some kind of tax from you or some kind of incentive from you. And then they may have a portion or a percentage of what you earn. And they may deduct it at source. But they cannot negotiate, they cannot create the platform creates the environment for you to be able to find other users or other people who want to hire freelancers. And the money is paid into an escrow. When you finish your job and it is unsatisfactory, the money is released to you in terms of what is yours. Good. But they don't, if your country has not told the platform to take collect taxes on their behalf, you, the freelancer, may have to pay your own taxes, and then other health insurance and other things that other costs that may be pertaining to how you manage your business. Now, interestingly, this is how the critical research looks like. And this is what I use in my PhD. So on the transitive domain, that's where the empirical exists. We are in the world of the transitive. We are trying to uncover the actual events and the real causes of what we are observing in the transitive. So we may use multiple triangulation methods. For example, we may carry out a study and collect data at different times, whether we are doing pilot or main study, and from different subjects. Then we may do investigator triangulation. We may not be the only person who collects data. We may work with other partners. Like I mentioned, the 5 or 6 other people I work with. So each of us will have a questionnaire. We'll go to the field. Sometimes each of us will interview the same phenomenon or engage the same phenomenon, and then we'll compare our views of how we have learned something. Or we'll sit in one setting, interview a person, and bring our mind together of how we are able to learn from each other, how we have been able to learn from the inquiry process and what views we all obtained, and then bring those views together and kind of rabbit each other so that we can have a holistic view of what we heard or what was shared with us through the interview. We also do theoretical triangulation. Sometimes we bring different theories together to be able to study the phenomenon. We may ask questions using maybe the motivation, opportunity, and ability theory. That's the MOA theory. Whilst another person also come from maybe tax, so that we can be able to look at the phenomenon from different theories in order to build a holistic picture of what's occurring. Then lastly, we will draw on multiple quantitative methods or multiple qualitative methods or mixed methods. So we can combine both case studies, surveys, and sometimes we even do documentary or archival analysis, or even analyzing content from social media platforms. all of this is supposed to try and do what? Try to have a very strong methodological approach where we are exploring the phenomenon at different layers in different perspectives so that we can understand and create a perfect picture of what is occurring. Because our knowledge of reality is that it's imperfect and it's a partial correspondence of our knowledge of reality. When we see reality, we may not be able to perfectly capture it. So when I talk to another investigator, that can help me. He may give a different view. I remember doing my PhD and I was collecting data. I did my PhD on e-business in Ghana. When I went to one of the companies go and collect data, they told me somebody has also been here asking questions on e-commerce in Ghana. And then I said, who is that person? They mentioned the person's name. I went to look for the person. I said, okay, this is my questionnaire. What did you find when you went to the company? He said, I found this and I also found it. And we put our minds together. We even wrote a paper together out of it. And we exchanged perspectives because what he was able to gain was able to enrich mine and mine was able to enrich his own. So sometimes we do investigator triangulation, especially with a critical realist. That's very, very important. Either you and another investigator, you and your supervisor, or sometimes also find out whether people have done a similar study within the phenomenon within the same context, so that you can compare your findings with their findings. Okay. Now, why is this important? It's important because perceptions, the critical realists coming from Basker's and explanation and Menges and Smith, these are some of the key authors in the area. But they explain that perceptions of reality tend to be value laden, that our values can influence the way we see reality, and it can create differences in our perceptions. And this perception can be changing continually. That is in the transitive law. But our objective is to look at the not necessarily change, but those are what is causing what we are seeing in the transitive to happen. So we are trying to move from the transitive to the intransitive. And we should be aware of the fact that we don't have the perfect view of reality. We need other people to shape that reality we are seeing. And if the other people come in, they help us to uncover and then explore. Sometimes they can even add what is not right. So as you do more investigation, you realize that this is not true. You remove because under different circumstances it cannot happen, or there's some questionable. Something questionable about it, and because there's something questionable about it, you cannot be able to go forward with it. Okay, now to begin the process, I needed to postulate what has been known without going to what do we know currently about AI and job creation or AI entrepreneurship. So what do we know? Why did I need to do that? I need to examine the current events and mechanisms that underpin the phenomenon I'm going to study in order to determine what questions need to be answered and which questions are relevant and immediate. Because I want to change and bring change in the community and change to the phenomenon and make an impact on Africa concerning AI and job creation. So if I don't know where we are, how do I establish that I've been able to find out what is causing what is causing what I want to observe, or what are the knowledge or the mechanisms and the structures underpinning AI and job creation in Africa? Why is it working? Why is it not working? I cannot be able to answer that question because I didn't if unless I do a baseline, and that baseline was to be able to carry out this entire literature review. So I carried out a literature review with my team, mapping research on artificial intelligence and entrepreneurship, a bibliometric review of Scopus database. So we picked publications from around 209, 207, but largely 209 to 2023. We got about 127 publications. Scopus index means that it's indexed by Scopus from reputable journals. And then when we did that one, we realized that most of the authors in the research area come from Asia and mainly China. They lead in the publication volume, and then influential works are coming from USA, UK. So kind of the developed world had taken the lead, and the developing world was yet to catch up. Then we also realized that there were a lack of theoretical framework. Most of the studies do not have any theoretical grounding. And there were a lot of literature reviews and conceptual analysis with very little empirical investigation. So we don't know what is even happening in terms of in the real world. Okay. Then, in terms of documentation, we know and have anecdotal information from the media, that's the newspapers, or what the media accounts have been. But we need to be able to understand what is actually the interrelation between AI and entrepreneurship from an academic perspective. Now, we also realize that when even theories are the theories are diverse and they do not kind of answer or try to address the issues as we expected, or give us deeper understanding of what is the interrelation between AI and entrepreneurship. In order to be able to go forward, we need to then come up with the key steps or the key gaps that need to be addressed. So in our study, and I'm going back to the methodology of the literature review process, just to give you some, because you are PhD students, I want to give you some of the background. We use the placement flow diagram. We had 815 articles at first. Then each of us went through the articles and be able to screen them. After screening, we were able to get 127. And then 127 were used to carry out the study. So after doing a screen, so you have to screen and take out what is not relevant to what you are doing, and this 127 became what is relevant for us to undertake a bibliometric analysis. Then this is the pattern we were able to observe. So from 209, and we realized that there was one study, and then AI entrepreneurship was kind of quiet out until 2019. Then they started building up. Researchers started looking into that area more, and then 2012, then 2022 hit a peak, and 2023. This study was done in 2020. This review was done in 2023. So it's not surprising that maybe there was a fall. By the time we were doing the study, the year had not ended. So there was room for us to have done the study. If the year we had ended 2024, maybe we would have had more papers in the 2023. But at least you realize that there's a sudden jump from 2021 to 2022, and most of it is driven by the discourse about AI and what you are seeing on ChatGPT and all those. Within the same pipeline, you realize that around that same time, AI became more a dominant subject because more companies we're developing applications that were making it more visible and more accessible. AI was no longer abstract. So we start seeing that researchers were responding to it, and there were increasingly a number of different tools that will let people to be able to easily adopt and use them and apply them to their activities or to their workflow. Now, what findings do we have? So there are quite a number of gaps we were able to establish. But one of the things that I want to emphasize here is that there was a need for more studies from developing countries, especially those that were able to give us a better understanding of what is the uptake of AI among entrepreneurs or among freelancers or among business users within the African context and then the Asian context, because most of the studies were in other countries like China, US, and UK, and there was modest representation from Asia, Africa, and Oceania. And then most of the studies also lacked theoretical foundations. But what questions needed to be asked? One, more compelling empirical studies, which are very robust and which are very broad looking and can give a different perspective across countries in Africa or in the area or the context like that you are looking into, whether it's a region like Asia. We want more contextual studies that can give us a good picture of what is happening across. Researchers might examine the different types of entrepreneurs and how they are enabled or built through AI. What are the institutional, technical, and behavioral factors that shape AI entrepreneurship? And what are some of the obstacles and hindrances that that influence or kind of inhibit them in utilizing AI tools, technologies, and techniques in entrepreneurship? Do AI tools spare migration from other forms of entrepreneurship? Are we seeing that somebody was maybe a freelancer that was offering services as an editor and was editing people's work online, but with birth of AI, he has now moved on to maybe a content developer or a content writer or a content creator. Why? Because he has been able to get tools that are giving him more versatility, and he has now left what he was doing to do more. So are there migrations taking place? That's one thing that have been come up. And are there AI entrepreneur, and are these AI entrepreneur, are they entirely new tech entrepreneurs? Are they now coming into or the way they area? now to be more strategic and establishing a baseline study to be able to start the discussion. So in order to do that, we chose a number of questions. First of all, what is the outlook of AI in Africa in terms of job creation? Who are the winners and losers? Which countries are doing well? Which countries are not doing? In which areas of AI use are they doing well? And how does that compare globally? So that we can be able to establish an answer to some of the questions that what is the comprehensive outlook of AI in Africa? Number two, Africa has issues about women participation in technology spaces. So gender is going to be an issue, and there's a lot of funding into gender and technology. And even we are trying to empower women in technology. So we want to know that are women also being left behind in this AI and job creation discussion? Which country is doing better in seeing more of their women leading or taking a step in AI? And then what are some of these examples and what are the women involved in? Number three, what skills and competence are essential for you to be a good AI or have be a successful AI freelancer? Because so that we can inform and advise governments that put more effort in developing skills or freelancers to put more effort in gaining these skills, or the youth of Africa gain these skills in AI and you can get jobs online. Their sustainability, what are they earning? Is what they are earning, is it even sustainable? Can it even support can it even support them in any way? How are they pricing their products, their services, sorry? The scalability, what are the next steps that will expand the opportunity of AI for more Africans? So this is where we wanted to start from. And these are questions that were defined. And as a critical realist, this question was important to me because one, we need to understand outlook of what is happening in AI. That is more about the transitive world. What is happening in the transitive world of Africa or relative of Africa? Then, when we start looking closer, what can we see? Are some people being left behind in the countries? What is happening to women? So we are now removing the layers. Then what skills allows you to even be successful on the platform? And then how are you pricing? How does the pricing affect you? So we are able to uncover some of the observations and then try to know what is possible, what will work for Africa, and what conditions will it work. Because in one thing that a critical realist is always thinking about, under what conditions is S created? Is it in the presence of A and B? And is B going to be more than A, or B is going to be less than A in combining to create X? Like you mentioned, the equation I showed you earlier. So what is Fiverr? Fiverr was established in 2010. It's a platform. It's an online platform which kind of houses freelancers, and they offer services they call gigs. The freelancers are known as sellers that operate across several categories, from programming, marketing, graphic design, AI categories, and so on. And they give services which they price from $5 upwards. Good. And they take a commission out of that. Now they categorize their sellers as new seller, level 1, level 2, and top rated seller. So as people buy from a particular site, they rank the person, and then based on your success in delivering good services, you can get higher rankings. Good. Now it's a very friendly platform and very easy to start up to use it. So there are quite a number of other platforms, but this was the one that we found very easy, and the data was easy for us to scrape and use for our studies. So other platforms are more difficult for you to get their data because they'll have other they have got layers of security that makes it very difficult to even you have to do everything manual. You can't even automate the obtaining their data, and they are very haphazard in terms of, or layered in terms of their categorization. That makes it very difficult for you to use it as a study. Now, some of the categories in Fiverr are AI development, which actually embraces those who develop AI applications, algorithms, and then softwares, and they offer that for sale. AI artists who are into using AI technology as an artist to create content for people. It can be from pictures, images, and then other type of artwork that people may need. Then you also have data science and ML, which is more of advanced skills where people give data analysis support people in analyzing their data. They also offer service for visualizing and cleaning people's data. And those are some of the jobs that were there. Then the other category is AI consulting, AI video art, AI music videos, AI custom prompts, generative AI lessons. Some people also give lessons on it and try to train people in AI and AI content editing and voice synthesis and AI. When you start looking at voice creation, vocal creation, and then the relationship between that one and AI. So these are some of the key core categories, and even within these categories, there are subcategories in there. But these are the broad categories as of 2023 November, when we're using the platform to collect the data we found. Now, how did we begin? We began from 2023 November to April 2024, where we were manually scraping data from the platform. And then we were able to cover 31,120 number of services offered in selected countries. That's all the African countries that were there, and then a number of other countries, like I think the UK, the US, which the UK, the US, sorry, the US, India, and Pakistan, just to be able to use for comparison. Now, as we are collecting data, we are updating it every month, and sometimes we're seeing very interesting changes. Then we recorded and visualized the data through Google Sheets. Then after that, we selected 15 respondents who have got high rankings between worked on the platform about 1 to 5 years of experience, cutting across Africa, largely Nigeria, Morocco, Algeria, one person from Ghana among the 15, and interviewed them. We wanted to do more than 15, but sometimes when you meet people online and you engage them, they will say no, unless they want you to even pay them to participate in the study. So we're trying as much as possible to avoid that pathway. The qualitative insights we drew thematic themes, thematic perspectives from the qualitative analysis, and the quantitative analysis helped us to do the trends to be able to establish what was happening across Africa in terms of the use of AI. Then we put the two together to be able to do analysis. Okay. Just mention. So the first part, outlook. Who are the winners? Note that in trying to do these things, I'm trying to break it down in terms of the layers of knowledge I want to uncover. So the first one is the outlook. Good. So as I mentioned, worldwide 31,120 AI gigs, Africa 2,948, and then USA 2,380. Now, notably, you can see that Pakistan has a notable share of AI gigs. That's about 29.33% compared to the other countries. And Africa holds a substantial portion of 9.5%, more than the 3 leading non-African countries listed. That's except Pakistan. Okay. And then India and Africa have similar percentages, hovering around the similar percentage. Nigeria, even though it's a small number compared to the continent-wide data, it still makes a significant portion of AI gigs, highlighting that it's a leading player in the space. Okay, but these findings suggest that there is kind of a diversifying global AI talent pool with a significant contribution from Pakistan and India. And it's actually not surprising. You see it on other platforms too, which are not Fiverr. Good. It also highlights the emerging presence of African nations in the AI freelance market. And then for business looking to hire AI freelancers, we can see that there's some offer being given by Africans in here. So let's continue. This is just the economic distribution. Now let's look at it in terms of the categories that we have. In terms of the categories that we have, AI artists and AI development are the most popular categories in the regions. So you can see that even in Africa, we are AI development and AI artists seems to be leading. And then the next one is AI content and editing, which is also high in Pakistan, as you see that. And it's also a very high. What is high in the highest category in Nigeria or services provided in Nigeria is AI development. Then it goes to AI artists. In Africa, it's still AI development, go to AI artists. Then it comes to AI content editing. Now, okay. So, but the regions like US and India have a larger share of the AI artists, which you can see from here, because of the fact that they are more developed market for the creative fields. But we in Africa, we are now picking up and we are coming into the discussion. Now let's look at the African countries. Now, these are the works, the jobs being offered. In total, we have about 112 gigs being offered. Now, look at the interesting thing that happened. When we began the study in 17 November, the whole Africa had advertised 728 AI jobs or AI services. But by 26, just about 10 days after, or 9 or 10 days after, we had 1,112, an increase of 384. And that increase came from Nigeria largely, and then Morocco, and then Kenya, South Africa, Egypt. So you can see that there have been a tremendous increase just within about 10 days or so. So you have about 245 showing up in Nigeria, and then 49 coming up. Now, what does it actually tell? Nigeria is leading with the highest number of gigs, going from 362 to 607, an increase of about 245 gigs. Now, this rapid growth shows that the availability of AI development gigs by African freelancers. And I think within that time, and as all these other platforms like ChatGPT was coming up, more people began to look for opportunities in this freelance space, and were offering themselves offering services on this platform or signing up. Number two, Nigerian dominance can be seen as a very large increase because of the fact that they have a robust growing tech industry within Africa, and they have taken and to some extent even their GDPs has been largely grown high because of the growing tech industry and then the growing fintech industry. Morocco has a significant growth because of this similar interest in AI development, also shooting up. Now, but there are emerging growing markets: Tunisia, Ethiopia, Ghana. You see 11, 12, 21, kind of picking it up gradually in that area. So it means that there are potential countries that we may see more growth if we do the study again. We are still going to collect data in a years now, and then to see where we started from, what it looks like. Now, the rate at which the gigs increase could indicate a highly dynamic market with a possibility of significant fluctuation over shorter periods. So sometimes, depending on what's happening in the AI market and more tools coming up, we can see this thing grow. Now that we have got DeepSeek, we have got Claude, and so many other applications that are coming, even Gemini from Google, it's likely we're going to see more growth in these areas in terms of the services. And that means that the AI sector could have a broader economic implication and contribution to job creation if skill development is also on a rise in Africa. Now, let's continue. What about gender? I'm just giving a snapshot. We have written most of these are in the book already, but I'm just giving snapshots of what tends to matter. So what about gender? So let's look at some of the general insights coming from the gender perspective. Okay, so I'll just give you a minute to look at it. Now, there's a dominance of male freelancers, or maybe works coming from male freelancers. So more of the gigs are advertised by males. And then, so if you look at it very carefully, there could be opportunity for us to do more for the females. The females is led by Nigerian who have about 160 of the get works that were being advertised on these platforms were coming from Nigerian female freelancers. But there's a significant drop to about 22 in Mozambique, and then goes to Morocco 8, Kenya 11, Morocco 8. So you realize that even in terms of female representation, it doesn't look the same as male representation across the two countries. Whilst Nigeria male offered gigs are high, followed by Morocco, South Africa, Kenya, the pattern is not the same as you want to look at the female. The female is a little bit mixed up. Because look at Mozambique is taking a lead, and they even have more females as compared to more males who are offering services on Fiverr in terms of AI services. And then Kenya picks it up, but the drop between Nigeria to Mozambique is quite large. It's quite large, and it has all got different implications. So Nigeria females account to 73% of all the freelance work that is being done, or all the services that's being offered by females on 5 African female developers, AI developers on these platforms. Okay. Now, the significant gender gap in the number of gigs with male freelancers is showing that even though the males are holding a majority, there's some room for females to also grow, and that opportunity is seen in Nigeria. And it's possible because Nigerian females could arguably have better access to education and opportunities for especially those who are involved in the tech sector. And it can also reflect a general trend or a larger trend of women in Nigeria engaging in the gig economy. So something could be done for the other countries. Initiatives need to encourage more women and underrepresented groups to enter into AI field. Countries with fewer freelancers could benefit from education infrastructure investment to build AI capabilities. With Nigeria leading in AI development gigs, there could be more opportunities for cross-country collaboration and knowledge sharing to support growth in other countries. Because Nigeria and Ghana seems to be quite close in terms of business. What could be the effect that maybe Ghanaian female AI freelancers can learn or can be encouraged by the Nigerians through some partnerships? The same could also be done in the Eastern African area, where we see Tunisia and Mozambique actually taking the lead, and Kenya. So can they be used as a nexus to spread female AI entrepreneurship within that particular region? These are things that we may need to think about, but it's very insightful for us to look at it from that perspective. Now let's look at African AI artists. When you look at the first one was African AI developers who are females and who are males offering services. And then this one, those who are offering services as AI artists. The same, Nigeria is leading, and 47 of them are female. And then Morocco comes in with 42 in terms of AI artists. So AI artists is having more female participation in a similar pattern or fashion, like how the males are also growing. So if you look at it, female AI artists represent a smaller portion. That's about 14.8% as compared to the male. The male are 85. Good. Highlighting the need for more females in this area. But we are seeing something in here which is quite interesting for me. The gender winners, like countries like Morocco and Nigeria, have higher number of gigs by male artists, while Kenya shows an equal distribution between male and female. So look at Kenya. Kenya, we saw 14 here, we saw a female 4. So Kenya seems to be doing something right when it talks about attracting females into AI artistry. Okay, so there's a need for diversity initiatives. Maybe how do we support more women to become AI artists? Even in Ghana, look at it. You have got 9 male and as against 1 female in AI artistry, and AI as AI artists. Tunisia 24 against 6. Algeria 102 against 6. So the gaps are quite wide, but we are seeing some good interest in someone like in an area like Kenya. But we don't see Mozambique here. So Mozambique, who was doing quite well in terms of female in AI, in terms of AI development, their AI freelancers are not interested in AI artwork or AI artistry. They are more into AI development, so they are more into the development applications. While here is more about using AI for artwork and developing, creating images and then sharing images related to that. Okay. So next thing that we have to look at is the skills and competence that you need to be a successful AI freelancer. The first thing we see here is that ChatGPT is taking the lead. So large language models tend to be the preference of people. Then you have DAL-E. At that time we're doing the study, we didn't have all of the other ones. Now we have now all these new platforms for doing video, Sora and all those kind of stuff. We didn't have it now. The AI one has changed since we started our study in 2023, spanning to 2024. It has changed drastically, and it shows that you can't actually just have one outlook. You have to keep on collecting the data all the time and to shape policy. So if DAL-E is here, which is also an image based AI platform, and then you have got TensorFlow, which is for machine learning, and then Stable Vision, and then Midjourney. So the number of gigs offered by African artists, African AI freelancers is led by ChatGPT. But if you look at their skills, those who have at least done one job before, a majority of them have got skills in Python. So if you are going to do some education, we can look at what is needed: Python, JavaScript, PHP, TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, and then TypeScript. It goes up to down to R. I know some schools have been teaching R, but look at where R is. R is just having only 4 people. What tends to be in demand in the market is supposed to be Python and JavaScript, which is not surprising, and then PHP. Now, what does it actually mean? What do these things mean in terms of looking at it? So we have the popularity of large language models such as ChatGPT, but we also see visual AI demand. DAL-E has a substantial share, suggests a demand for AI in creative fields such as graphic design and digital art. Machine learning frameworks like TensorFlow, its notable presence implies that many freelancers offer services which involve building and training of machine learning models. Okay, emerging technologies like Midjourney and stable diffusion, while less common, indicate things like freelancers that are engaging with cutting edge AI technologies or some of the new ones. Okay, so to some extent, we need to appreciate that the data is suggesting that there's a need for training in programs that cover more of the popular and emerging AI engines. That's one. Number two, we need to find opportunities for specializing in some of the less common AI engines so that we can be able to cater for that market, because there's also opportunity in all the other markets. If I have compared this one to the request for jobs, I could have even give you a better picture of what Africans are supplying and what the job market is actually demanding. I think that's one something that we can do in our future study. Okay. So country versus programming expertise. So the countries that are leading: Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, and Nigeria. So we look at it. Morocco has about 68% of their people learning, saying that they are very good with Python. 68% of freelancers who are offering the jobs are saying that they are very good with Python, and then JavaScript and PHP. Whilst Algeria is JavaScript and PHP, then Nigeria is covering almost all. And actually, this is interesting because it has a different meaning if you look at it in terms of the programming expertise. Okay, so Morocco strongly prefers Python and JavaScript, suggesting a versatile AI development scene that spans both data science and web development. Algeria is looking at a higher percentage on PHP, which shows that they are more into web development or integrating AI into web platforms. This is suggestive. Egypt displays a varied skill set with a notable absence of PHP and Java, but which indicates a focus on AI technologies rather than on traditional web development. So that's why you're seeing that. But Nigeria is trying to do everything, which is quite interesting. And that may be where we may have to look. Nigeria and maybe Morocco, but look at Nigeria itself, has the most diverse skill distribution with relatively high percentage of freelancers skilled in PyTorch as compared to other countries, indicating a strong presence in advanced AI development. Okay. So we need multiple skill sets to be able to do well on these platforms and to be successful in AI within the Fiverr platform. We need more skill sets. We can't just be in one area. The countries that are doing well tend to have more skill sets and more knowledge in that area. So having a cross-disciplinary skill set is needed. Having understanding of some of the modern languages and some of the traditional languages like C++ and the Java is also needed. Okay, so given their market dominance, there's a clear need for ongoing education in Python and JavaScript. It's very important that we do that. And training in deep learning frameworks will likely increase the demand. Okay, then we also have to look at the integration of PHP among AI gigs. Which we see here. That means that web platforms are increasingly become the environment in which AI is being deployed through, which is true. Currently, we're seeing that a lot of the AI tools are deployed through the web. Okay. Now let's look at sustainability. Well, how do they price their earnings? We are just coming to the end. Now, look, this is what it looks like. So there's those who are earning very high amounts of high volumes in terms of what they have. The high-end services are $2,000 plus, which is about only 7 jobs what we saw there. And then we see Nigeria leading with that one. And then we also saw the median being within around less or equal to $500. Good. And that about 540 people, if you look at it. That's $100 is 540. Sorry, and I said the medium. $100 is 540. Less or equal to $100 is the most common one, which with 65% of the people falling into that category. And then there's mid-range services, which is a 500 tier. So what is happening in terms of country? Nigeria is dominating from $50 to about $100 tiers. And then we have Mozambique and then Ivory Coast also have a notable presence in the $50 tier. And then there are other countries. Those who are doing a few African countries, a few freelancers are pricing very high, above $1,000. And you can see that one also within here, about roughly about 60 of them are pricing quite high. And if you look at it, you see Nigeria seems to be leading in each of them. Wow. There's something that they see the Nigerians are doing right. Okay. Now, what about the earnings? What are they making? Of the 112 African freelancer gigs offered on Fiverr, only 92 African freelancer gigs spanning 4 countries, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, and Nigeria, have completed their jobs. Only 92 freelancers. So this, out of the number of jobs given, Africa has completed only 501 jobs, and these were done by 92 people. And they are combined earned $60,000. So look at it very carefully. When you think of Morocco has completed 163 jobs, but the number of jobs that were offered were 168, and 37 people completed that job. Algeria, 8 people completed 40 jobs, and they earned $7,000. Egypt, Morocco, the 37,000 people earned $28,000. Egypt, 11 people completed 203 jobs, and they earned $14,000. Nigeria, 36 people completed 95 jobs, and they earned almost $10,000. In total, we have completed 501 jobs out of 92 Africans, and we have earned $60,000. Interesting. So, what is happening here? What is happening here? It looks like there's some interesting earnings, but I'm not interested in just the earnings. I'm interested in what about the opportunities for women? Okay. Now, only 5 female freelancers have completed orders. And these 5 female freelancers who have completed objects, one of them earned $720. Another set completed 5 jobs, and they have done 24 jobs in total. One of the sellers also completed 5 jobs. You earned $360, and then another completed 5 jobs. He earned $400. Another completed 2 jobs, two of them are in fact, the test of some of them have completed 2 jobs each, and they have earned 144. In total, the females have earned $1,768. You see, the female are earning something, but the amount of money they earn per job is is quite low. If you look at it, somebody has finished 10 jobs and he earned $720, so he's earning $72 per maybe average per job. And then somebody to finish 5 jobs and earn 360, he's earning about 120 per job. Okay, that's dollars anyway. Good. So, but there are 218 freelancers who are female. Only 5 of them have completed jobs, and they have done 24 jobs in total. Okay. Sorry. So when we look at qualitative insights, these are some of the issues that are coming up. Gender discrimination. Female freelancers often face significant challenges in AI freelancing and biases from their. We are looking at it from this part, also breaking it down. We take a person's quote, we look at the thematic issues that come out of it, and then we kind of abstract from it. So since they are coming up, I wouldn't say they have much to say. Because most of them are trying to do a mindset shift. This is part of an extra from a longer conversation where the mindset shift was what a Ghanaian lady female responded to and was saying that the females are not being given much opportunity. So the other females who are who are also developers are not drawn to AI because they are not getting much opportunity. But a mindset shift can allow them to get into it more. And the mindset shift should be also on the people who are giving jobs. If they see you are a female, they are more skeptical. Some of them even want to find out that when they get to know that you are a parent, or you have got other things, other responsibilities, they don't want to even give you the job. Because sometimes in the engagement, they may ask you certain questions and you may say that, oh, I'm busy because I have to pick my children from this. And they don't want those kind of discussions and excuses. So sometimes their roles as mothers and as having other roles in family obligations affect them in getting jobs. And sometimes they are not even online as much as the customer may even want. There was a particular client that messaged me. He started asking very naughty questions. So there's also some kind of sexual harassment. But I use maturity because if ever you are not allowed to insult your client, no matter what they do. So that was from Nigeria. So there are racial discriminations, also gender issues that are coming up. High cost of operations. Many people are saying that it's not easy to be able to manage working online, especially from Nigeria. Most of the time, when I get my earnings, I have to now divide my earnings to buy data, fuel my generator, buy a power bank so that I can work effectively. And then somebody else said, I used to buy a power bank to ensure that I can keep working. So that means that they are working from their own space and managing the infrastructure deficiencies is actually affect their ability to be able to consistently deliver their services in a manner that they would have wanted to. Then part of why you can also become successful is that if you can also be creative in the way you develop solutions for clients. Leveraging my technical prowess, I have successfully developed adaptable forest trading bots, streamlined chatbot automations for seamless customer support, and fine-tuned ChatGPT models for engaging conversation experience. These are some of the people who are making it gaining some good value of earnings from Fiverr. And these are some of the responses they gave. That we asked them, what skills do you need to have to be able to be successful? And they said this one, your technical prowess and that your innovative ability to be able to deliver very innovative projects is what also gives you some good earnings on it. It said I successfully developed an intuitive website, user-friendly chatbots, robust AI algorithms, sophisticated deep learning models, seamlessly integrated mid-journey API functionalities, and harness AI for image integration. This is a person who is offering services in AI for development, AI as an artist. So he's quite versatile in what he does, and that versatility is helping him to do better integration, offering superior services. Opportunities in emerging fields. Specialized expertise in federated learning, explainable AI, reinforcement learning, and data privacy will likely be in high demand. This is what somebody in Nigeria was pointing out, that future people joining or coming up to work on this platform in future should start building capacity in this area, because that may be in demand. Others are also talking about explainable AI. So this idea about ethics is becoming an issue. That there will be more demand for ethical AI, and issues when we're developing ethical AI frameworks for companies, and then explainable AI, multi-language text-to-speech, and enhanced API integrations is what they foresee to be in demand in the future. Okay. Scalability and next steps in my nutshell. I think we need to expand those who are researchers here and PhD students, we need to expand our research focus, especially in the fact that we need to understand the regional differences that underpin what we are seeing, and try to understand what makes one country superior in developing in delivering AI services on this platform better than another country. We are seeing Morocco, we are seeing Nigeria. What is making Nigeria and Morocco do well and take that edge and take that? And we are seeing Algeria. What is unique about them? And what theories about what economic theories, what geographic and IT geographically related theories can help explain this observation. Longitudinal studies are also needed. As I pointed to you, that there are fluctuations in the participation of these people. So, for example, if internet as cost goes low, gets reduced or becomes much more affordable in a country, it's possible that in that country you may see an upsurge in the number of people who are signing up because of ability to spend more time on the platform, and then ability to also deliver the service. If infrastructure is also better, you may see something different. So we could look at longitudinal studies that see what actually predicts the not just success, but the changes in terms of earnings, and then the adequate participation or smooth participation of AI freelancers. Then we also need interdisciplinary research focus. You can't do AI research and be looking at it just from a technology perspective. You have to think like a social scientist. Sometimes you have to think like an economist. So how can we combine theories and researchers from different skill sets or disciplines and sectors of the economy to be able to work together on a project? Maybe PhD supervisory teams have to expand. If somebody is doing an AI study, you can't just have one technology supervisor. You may have to have a lawyer on it. You may have to have a lawyer on your team, an economist on your team, a social scientist on your team, to be able to have a pluralistic way of looking at it. And that's one thing that critical realism pushes for. That the truth cannot be in one person's mind. We have to have other people to come together to shape it. And this is actually being seen in our study. Now, because of this, we went ahead to develop 3 books to be able to tell us what is AI doing in other sectors, especially in Africa and in other fields. So we did AI in the music industry in 2004, 2024. Then we also did AI in the creative economy, and we also did one AI in society. In all of these books, we were trying to delve into what is AI changing in these African and non-African countries. We looked at that in Ghana. We looked at that in other countries too. So if you get an opportunity to get these books, it will be very, very helpful for you. Right now, we are going to move into AI in healthcare, and then maybe in a year's time, by this time next year again, we don't try and see whether we can release another set of AI books which are into music, creative economy, and then AI in society to see what we have learned so far and how we have moved ahead. But what we did is that we also realized that for the industries to grow well and for us to give direction to our institutions, that's education institutions, we need to think beyond theory. So in these books, we did an AI music industry syllabus, and we also did one AI in content creation. Now, this is one aspect of a critical realist thinking, that if you want to establish new structures to bring change, you have to propose it and show it. So as a critical realist, I needed to show it that this is pathways that we can take out of the outputs of my study. Remember, okay, if I have opportunity, I'll show you how to contribute from a PhD, and I'll explain how academic contributions are important, how policy contributions are important, how practice-based contributions are important, or industry contribution. If I can, maybe in future, I'll discuss with Charles and I can give that presentation to you. So I always tell students that what is the artifact that is coming from your PhD? We like PhDs that come with publications, good. But what is the artifact that somebody can use and take it up and do something with it? So this is the artifact that was coming from the research that we're doing. So we are giving this one to different stakeholders to be able to start using to teach in institutions and teach in their private consultancies. Then we also think that in terms of policy, we need to Africa has to rethink how we see AI. AI is a tradable commodity which demands national concern, and it requires some intentionality and strategic commitment. We can't look at AI like how we saw it as something for Japan, something for China. No, you can't do that again. Look at what Nigeria is doing. The youth are taking the lead, and if we don't create more opportunities for them, they will start learning because now Google is making more AI courses available for free online. Microsoft is doing the same thing. So the youth are going to start learning by their own. They will not go to the traditional school systems that we have. If that is the case, then we need to be strategic, I think, as institutions, as policymakers, that what can we do to take advantage of this? Enhance the understanding of AI across the economy and the society. Start thinking, how can public sector institutions be more efficient, agile, through new techno innovation, through techno innovation means that new technologies that are driving innovation, and then how can we create a broader entrepreneurial ecosystem that is full of startups and then tech-enabled startups? Let me give you an example. The GDP of Uganda is around 48 billion. Ghana is about 76 billion. Nigeria is about 300 and something. Now, let's take Uganda and Ghana. If you have 10 tech billionaires, they can carry maybe 10% or 20% of your economy. They can carry it for you. They can create jobs that will create a ripple effect. And then you can put in protection mechanisms to prevent the knowledge and the much of your capital flight from happening. So the money doesn't rather move to the opposite side, it rather stays in. And your country can then become more attractive for people to come in. So we need to start becoming strategic actually. Saudi Arabia just did gave land to OpenAI, signed something with them with another number of companies to build a whole AI cluster, which is even larger than Monaco as a country. Why is Saudi Arabia doing that? Because they want to take an edge, and they have the money to do so. But I don't think that we can say that Africa, because we don't have money, will start. What we see on what is happening on Fiverr shows that the youth are not waiting for their countries. They are going online and start learning AI for themselves. So if they are learning AI for themselves, then we have to find a way of making it more accessible to them. Okay, so what do we do? Reliable internet access, affordable computing resources, latest to the software tools, and access to co-founding and co-working spaces where they can work from. Like some of them were saying that there's always light of how to use power bank and stuff. Can you create open AI working spaces across a country where there are AI technology enthusiasts who are there to support people who are coming? You come there, come and dream, come and build something of your own, and then as you build, you get some support and to be able to launch it up and get the necessary coaching. Can we create those spaces there? And then policy framework to protect the market and enhance trust and stability. You see, sometimes there's no fairness in some of these markets. If you don't protect and become intentional, people will get very will be poorly paid. They will work that much, and you see that somebody is being, because he's coming from Nigeria or coming from let's say Uganda, he's being paid $3, $10. But somebody does the same thing for somebody else from the UK, that person is charging $20. We see this price discrimination. And so that the Africans have to underprice because they want to get a market. They want to get people to trust them. But if we start building a name in AI, when we are on this platform, we are offering service, people will know that, oh, if you want AI artistry, the best country to look at in Africa is maybe Morocco and maybe Uganda. So if somebody from Morocco, Uganda is offering a service, by that kind of knowledge that is already down there, and the country's position as an economic hub for AI artistry, you see that they can price higher. But if they are not known, the freelancers struggle to make a name for themselves. We can also let local companies grant them tax breaks and grants and subsidies if they focus on AI local projects or using AI to create solutions locally. Lastly, I think one thing we need to do push out is continuous skill development. What we saw in on this shows that you can't have one set of skills. Even if you look at what we showed here, you don't see DeepSeek, you don't see Gemini, you don't see some of the new platforms and languages that are coming up. But this is just a year ago. So now, if within a year the space has changed, that means that there should be an opportunity for people to continuously learn new frameworks that are coming out in AI. And what is even interesting is that some of the AI platforms are even making the platforms and making the knowledge base and how to apply it free online. OpenAI is doing that. But sometimes people even don't know, or they don't have enough internet access to stay. So can we have a more government, a purposeful government drive, AI for jobs drive, where we are making sure that we are making these tools accessible in ways we can understand, from elementary to tertiary and vocational education. I heard that they are doing something like that in Burkina Faso, where AI and other type of technology are being introduced in elementary schools. We need to do the same because it's being done abroad. Lastly, I also point out that we need to echo the gaps. We need continuous studies like what we are doing. We researchers here. This kind of study we have done cannot stop here. We have to continuously do that study to echo the gaps and then suggest ways of bridging the gaps, because it's changing rapidly and so evolving so fast that if we don't catch up, we'll wake up one morning and say the world has left Africa behind again. But this opportunity, I don't think Africa should be left behind. We can do something and participate in it. I'm really passionate about this. I'm really passionate about seeing Africa taking a seat in AI discussions. Maybe we may come from the use of AI, maybe not more of the development as others have done. Maybe we may come from other parts that others are not thinking of, or we will be more democratic and more ethical in applying it, and that could also be our contribution. But we need more specific initiatives, intentional initiatives to increase female participation in technology and AI. Scholarship, mentorship programs, and training tailored for women is also needed. In effect, critical realism seeks to expose the reality of a social phenomena, which I have done. Examine and explain the events and the discourses within them, which I have done. We will only be able to understand and so change the social world, that's the AI and job creation world, if we identify the structures that are currently working and the events that is generating. What is it? What trends is it generating? But I also have to say that I need to be critical of my own reality that I have shared with you here, because it consists of my own perceptual reality. Because I needed to do that, I had to draw on other partners who I work with as a team, so that my own perceptual reality does not become a point that narrows the contribution that I've shared today. Even in engaging with you and talking with you, I'm still sharing my reality, and your understanding of my reality will even shape my reality better, so that I can be able to have a better understanding what structures will work, what structures is working, what structures will better work, and then be able to bring better solutions to Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. That was wonderful. And what I see, I was just thinking through as you were going through the presentation, you've walked us through the process of integrating critical realism in this study. And you've walked us through the step-by-step process and using your very own studies that in this area, especially in AI and job creation in Africa. And as students, we've been able to see how this integration goes through. And I want to believe that there is a lot of learning. Prior to the sessions that my colleague talked about, some of the questions we were asking our students, how do we integrate theory paradigms in our studies, in our research? Where do we put it? How does it speak through the process? But I think you've been able to do that very ably, and we thank you. And I believe we will be able to learn from this. One of the other things also that you've done in this process is to think. This is one of the statements you said, think beyond the PhD. Of course, in this forum, you'll find that there are already those that have, and there are those that are aspiring. But beyond that, you have given us clearly some of the opportunities that we we can be able to put a PhD into use, especially in practical application, practically applying our PhD. And even on this very study, you have already highlighted some of the areas which we can be able to take advantage. And more so, especially when you talk about interdisciplinary and sometimes multidisciplinary teams and engagement, there is room, and especially in this very nascent topic of AI, I believe that many of us are picking ideas on how we can be able to do that. Thank you very much. So our time is up. We want to give a quick opportunity for some of the questions. There are some on the chat, but I want to give opportunity to the audience. If there's any question, they can put up their hand and we give a few. And then after that, I'll be able to read some of those that have come through the chat. Audience, please, if there's a particular question you want to ask, please raise your hand. But as you raise your hand, let me read some of those that are already here, that have come through. Prof, somebody is saying, let me just go through. Somebody is saying, Prof, are you able to give a quick explanation on the difference between critical realism and pragmatism paradigm? Difference between critical realism and pragmatism paradigm. We'll just read a few, then you will respond. And then somebody is saying, Lole is saying, thanks, Prof. From my understanding, as realism looks at cause and effect, whilst critical realism looks at causation and mechanism with introduction as a research strategy. Researchers are then able to develop theories that are grounded on real-world complexities. The question is, how then does this depart from grounded theory approach that employs inductive reasoning, or perhaps it is part of the process the same? So wanted some clarification on that. Then Agri saying, how come China is missing in the figures, I think, on the presentation, and how come Pakistan has a higher figure than India? So some of the questions. Lord again is saying, how best can countries like Zimbabwe and others be collaborated with to bring on board freelancers? Is it possible to have a deliberate strategy for this to happen, and how can it be done? AI could play a very important role to assist many unemployed youth. And then others appreciating your presentation. And somebody is saying, Agri is saying he likes the way you use the mixed method in your presentation, and he says very deep stuff. Then somebody is saying, JNN saying, thank you, Prof. I've picked idea on how to continue exploring this paradigm for my study in a completely different field, architecture. Great presentation. Maybe Prof, you could give some quick feedback on that.
Okay, so pragmatism looks at focuses on the outcomes of research and actions and the situation and consequences of the inquiry instead of the antecedent conditions. So it's not committed to any one philosophy or realism. They try to use what will work. So a pragmatist may not say that he wants to do quantitative or qualitative. He asks himself what will work in this particular study. And then he will go with that mindset of choosing what works. So pragmatics are necessarily tied to any particular view of reality or view of epistemology or view of methodology. That's what the pragmatists agree that research always occurs in social, historical, political, and other contexts. But we believe that they should stop asking questions about reality and the laws of reality and seek to change the phenomena. So they are more about what can we do, what change can we bring. So because of that, they have a freedom of choice and they are free to choose methods, techniques, and procedures of research that meets the purpose for their study, which is very I don't know if I've answered that question to the person's best understanding, but at least this is the first thing I want to say. I don't know whether I've answered the question to the person's best understanding, but this is what I want to communicate here, that pragmatists are more free from choice. They have a freedom of choice, and they are free to choose whichever method of what will work. But recently, Richard Hicks of University of Manchester published a paper titled "The Critical Pragmatists: Combining Pragmatism and Critical Realism." And in the paper, he was trying to point out that a critical realist can be pragmatist, or a pragmatist can be a critical realist, and he explains the pathway that they can work together. So if you have an opportunity to read that paper, I'll try and find it and give it to Charles to give it to you. So those who want to think about combining critical realism and pragmatism, there is a paper that has been published to help you to do that. It's by Richard Hicks. Okay. So I hope I've answered that part. Okay. Then there was another question on why is China missing from the study. So let me go back to the to show you. Let me see if I can show it from the book. We went out looking at African countries, not necessarily looking into for China per se. We look at African countries, and we selected a number of countries that we thought that we want their phenomenal, they're phenomenal in their in what they were doing in terms of what we saw in the categories that we're looking at. So we chose I mentioned UK, well, USA, Pakistan, and India, because we saw a phenomenal increase in their participation. It doesn't mean that Chinese don't use Fiverr; they use it. But for the time we're looking at study, it was not. It wasn't profound for us to look into that. You the first. Okay. Just give me a second. Good. So somebody also asked about in Zimbabwe and other countries. So I don't know whether you can see very well in this scenario. We have here the whole list of African countries that we saw in the list. So Nigeria, Morocco, Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, Mozambique, Tunisia, Ethiopia, Ghana, Benin, Botswana, Senegal, Tanzania, Zambia, Cameroon, Madagascar, Namibia, Sudan, Uganda, too, Burundi, Ivory Coast, Mauritius, Rwanda, and Togo. So our focus also on the African countries, and we just selected the 4 other countries to be able to do a comparison. We didn't actually pick China. And it's also because it's likely because none of us saw when we did the first activity, we didn't see maybe a profound, a noticeable, or something that could draw attention. But we saw this from India and then Pakistan, and that actually drew attention, especially with the Pakistan. When we saw Pakistan was not very high. Somebody was asking, why is Pakistan higher than these platforms? What is interesting is that people go on the platform and they offer gigs based on what is of their interest. So you may see Pakistan doing very well here, but if you go to maybe Upwork, which is another freelance platform, you may see a flip where India may be doing more Indians will be there than as compared to Pakistan. One other thing that we also face is that Fiverr has not given us, and they don't usually do that, the statistics of how many are for each country. So it's very difficult for you to be able to get the count, even as a country. So what we did is that we had to sort out the data and keep on adding page by page to be able to get a picture of what will exist. And sometimes when you search, it can tell you how many gigs are being offered by people from India or by people from Pakistan, because people register which country they are in when they are on the platform. So based on the people who are there, it could be that there are more Pakistanis on the platform than Indians. So not that Indians don't do much work, but there are more of them there. And remember that our focus is more about the participation of people on the platform. And we thought that we want to look at participation of Africans on the platform. So that's why in Africa we took our time to study all the African countries that were and report on those ones. Quite a number of other Africans were 1, but after some time we stopped counting the ones. Okay. Then there was another question about how can Zambia take advantage of this? If I'm right, is that a question? Or Zimbabwe? Sorry, Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Okay, how can Zimbabwe take advantage of this? Okay, so I think we should appreciate the fact that what I've shown is a starting point, that there is opportunity of creating of using I want to open my findings and my conclusions to you. The opportunity of using AI to diversify your entrepreneurial or your freelancing sector. And how can you do that? By building more capacity in that area and making sure that your academic institutions and your training schools are also equipping people with those skills, and intentionally encouraging people to go online to export that talent. Some countries are now doing what they call labor export as an intentional strategy for their youth. So they are even negotiating with other countries. That's if they want to move them to other countries. But I think that freelancing is online freelancing is an opportunity of taking advantage of the global labor market and giving opportunity to your youth. Let them know about it existing, train them, and then make them available. There are companies. I've seen one company in Ghana. What they do is that they put ladies together and train them in different skill sets, and then help them find jobs online, and then they complete the jobs and they get a percentage. But for giving them enabling environment, the company gets a percentage. But the lady that has been trained can also earn money from what you have, because they help you. Because some of these people, maybe they don't have an account, they don't have a bank card to be able to receive money from the diaspora or to sign up on some of these platforms. So what they have done together is that they have created themselves as a training school, and they have put the ladies together. And when you graduate, you are taught to offer a service online. As you are offering a service, they get a percentage from what you are earning, and that's somebody's business model. So they can train them, they can make up their money. We are into AI music, and that's what we are offering. Or we are into AI development. So we are using these type of AI engines. So they are specific on the engines that they want to work with. Maybe Leonardo as an image engine, Gemini, Flow, a video from Google as another engine, and they will build capacity in that area, offer services in that particular area. So you can be intentional, and you need to understand that it's a tradable commodity, and other countries are taking advantage of it. What can we do as Africa? It requires intentionality and it requires strategic commitment. And I think we need to evangelize this as researchers and practitioners who are here. Carry this message. I've shared the video. Carry the video. The video kind of sums up the whole story. Carry the message, share the video with it's on YouTube. So share it with other people in your country to watch it. If you want us to have engagement, we can have an engagement and discussion with whoever matters there. But we need to be intentional. And I think that we need that kind of what I say, AI for jobs drive. That has to be done. It has to be intentional. It has to be done. And there is a lot of funding in the area. That's one thing we also don't realize. Google is always giving funding in that area. And then Microsoft is also giving funding in that area. Even in healthcare and AI, there's a lot of funding in that area. So why don't we integrate AI into even everybody's PhD for the next? Because there's so many questions that we can ask. We have not even answered an iota or even a grain of all the questions that is there. There's a lot of questions that are coming up each and every day. Ethics and so many things that need to be done. Governance, even the military are now using AI. So there are issues that we need to start looking into, and we need to be fast and quick about it. Okay. Then there was a question about let me look at the question myself. Are you able to give Okay, that one I've done. Pragmatism paradigm. I've done that one. Okay, so grounded theory. Okay, so this conversation we start will not finish. Because grounded theory, critical realism uses grounded theory approaches. If you go and take your time and read this guy's book, Miles and Huberman. And Miles and Huberman talks about qualitative data techniques and tells you how to be able to get data, how to analyze qualitative data. In that analysis of qualitative data, there are some techniques which are explained from a grounded theory perspective. That he talks about it as being used by people who are into critical realism and they are doing reproduction. So there are techniques which are common to all. But the paradigm also has a direction where how you answer your question. So you can see grounded theory analysis as a technique for analyzing data, which part of it that a critical realism may adopt in his work. But then there's also a whole body of work that see grounded theory as a paradigm of its own. That from the beginning and end, you want to do grounded theory, and this is the rules you are supposed to follow. That is also another part. Critical realism see grounded theory analysis approach as a technique that can be applied in analyzing qualitative data. So that's the best way I can explain it in the short discussions that we have. I have just give me a second if I can find it to show you. I have a document that tries to explain different qualitative techniques and then how they matter in terms of analysis and how you apply them. I'll try and find it and maybe share it with Charles for you to have it. But I try to explain the different techniques and what you can use them for. Okay, what goes into it? Okay, so please note that what you are saying is true. There's a relationship there, but I as a critical analyst draw the techniques of quadrant theory in my analysis and my qualitative data analysis approach. Like the qualitative data analysis approach. Okay. Yes. I think there are more questions. Zimbabwe, I've answered it.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doc. And we want to again to really thank you so much for your time. I know it's waking up late. I know when I mentioned this, you said that is very early. What are you people doing at that early? But
I'm
like
really surprised. I'm really
but
surprised.
like you've seen, we even start earlier. Sessions even started earlier than 5. But we thank you for accepting to be part of this. Our time is up. We normally stop at 6:30, but for today we've stretched a bit. I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Ahmed Walugembe, to wrap up this process. Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you very much, Charles. Mr. Olpot. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Socratic Research for Community Development, appreciate Professor Richard Boteng from the University of Ghana Business School for joining us this morning and sharing with us his experiences and the research on AI and its employment opportunities for the African continent and the world at large. Allow me say that Professor Boteng would like to welcome you and request you to join the Socratic Research for Community Development community. This community is a community that meets every Sunday. It's an African community, not a Ugandan community. We have scholars across the African continent, from Uganda, East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, then South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi. We have a team from there. We have had a number of people coming from West Africa, I think Nigeria, Ghana, and then Egypt from North Africa and Sudan. A number of people from there have participated. So allow me welcome you as one of our scholars, and a humble request is that this is a platform mainly for the PhD students and PhD scholars. So our discussions are largely related around the PhD program and how it supports the community and how to acquire it. And I mean, supporting all those who are on the PhD program go through it smoothly. So given that you are one of those that we think very powerful in our that are joining us from a very powerful community of Ghana, we request you to join us every Sunday. We have the student session starting at 4 a.m. To 5 a.m. and then we have the main session starting from 5 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. every Sunday, unless otherwise if it's a public holiday or there's something special. We have a very big team of scholars on the platform led by Professor Joseph Untai. You can Google him. He's a widely worldwide internationally recognized scholar. He's off today. He's not feeling well for the last 2 weeks, but we pray for him to be well and recover soon. However, we believe that we can always continue with his guidance and support in his absentia. So, Professor, you're welcome, and we wish to be with you in our next sessions and engagements.